So please welcome Justin Beck.
So how are you this evening? Pretty good? Now that you guys are all filled with food, I get the wonderful privilege of keeping you awake. So hi, my name is Justin. I'm the CEO of PerBlue. And today we're going to tell you about the PerBlue story. I was a computer engineering graduate with a double major in computer science at UW-Madison. But while I was in school, I was a Google intern. And some of you guys may have, who's heard of this company? You know? No hands? Seriously? Who's heard of this company? All right, okay. All right. So after that, I actually worked at a company called Microsoft, which some of you may have heard of that company too. And this was a great experience, and they gave me offers. And when I was a senior in college, I was like, this is interesting. I could work at these companies, or I could do something a little different. And I was like, well, I would like to start a company. And so we started this company called PerBlue. And nowadays, about approximately 3 and some change years later, we have about 30 full-time employees. And this is a group of lovely, wonderful, young, passionate faces here. And to be very honest, I have a pretty sweet job. It's just a situation. And if you were to say, a few years ago, like, hey, Justin, are you going to run this small company and come into work every day, like invigorated, to try to make more games and entertain millions of people around the world? Are you going to do that? Is that going to be your future? I would be like, what? No way. No, that's not what I see. And you're going to see that as a thread of what I'm going to tell you about today. So the story goes you're probably thinking, okay, PerBlue, what do we do? And so we make games for iPhone and Android. And in particular, the genesis of our company comes with this game up here, Parallel Kingdom. And Parallel Kingdom is a location-based role-playing game. So if you look here, your little character, and you build buildings and capture flags and territory and collect resources and make yourself more powerful and then wage war against your neighbor and brag about it and send him a message saying, ha ha ha, I won, I beat you. And we jammed all of that into a phone. And that was really, really innovative. And we make money by selling virtual goods. Yes. So you spend $3 of real money and you get 300 virtual money. And virtual money, you can then spend all sorts of different cool things in the game. So this is kind of like poker chips in a casino, where you spend $5 of poker chips, and you can spend those poker chips on anything, tipping the waitresses and things like that. So it's the same thing, and you can level up your character, buy avatar customizations, things like this. And now, again, if you were to tell me, or if I were to tell investors a few years ago, hey, dear investor, I, a college student, or we're going to make a game and we're going to put it on the phone. Yep, that's unique. This is a few years ago. This is before we all had these things. And we're going to sell them virtual stuff. And they're going to pay real money for it. Millions of dollars of it. And yes, this is going to work. You buy this virtual money. They would have been like, you're crazy. That's absolutely crazy. Why on earth would you do it? And my sister still thinks this today. She's like, Justin, I just can't get over how you can make so much money by selling them nothing. And I'm still fighting to earn my income this way we've normally done. I'm like, yes, I'm sorry, but that is the way the world works. It's crazy. Some things you naturally wouldn't think be possible turn into be possible. So with our products, we have about 1.8 million users around the world. And about 35% of those users are not from America. And historically speaking, about 2010, we made about $500,000. In 2011, we did about $1.5 million. And this year, we'll do a little shy of $3 million. And so what you can see here is that we've built this. If you look at that first screenshot, these little avatars, 20 by 20 pixels moving around the screen, if you were to say that's going to be a multi-million-dollar business someday, again, people would probably have thought of you as crazy. So how did this start? And it really started in a dorm room. And this is actually a great picture of my dorm room. And we had just hooked it up with electric lock. So now people's dorm rooms with all the wonderful dorms we have are really fancy. But they used to be really horrendous, and they didn't even have lights. Now they added fluorescent lights. We added a fluorescent light to our own. But anyways, we were in a dorm, and we had a crazy idea. And there were 2 students, myself and Andrew Hansen. And the story here is actually kind of neat. Because it was 2 o'clock in the morning, and we had a lot of math homework to do. some of those integrations where you're just like, oh, I can only do so many of these before my brain, gets a little confused. Anyways, and so we were supposed to be doing homework, and we were like, I've had enough of this. Shut those books, like, let's do something cooler. And we were like, hey, let's make another game. And they're like, well, what kind of game? Well, we had made one game before, and the game sucked. It was bad. It was really, really simple. And we were like, hey, let's make a new game. And let's make it on the phone. And let's see if we can actually make it fun this time, because the last one wasn't fun at all. And that seems to be a critical component for, retaining users' attentions. And it'd be kind of cool if we made some money, too, because maybe then we could keep doing this. And so anyways, so from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m., we actually designed the first version of Parallel Kingdom. And about very few percentage of the features actually were the same as what we designed. But the key thing is we were two lazy students who were not doing what we were supposed to be doing, but doing something better. I'm sorry, math professors. It wasn't anything personal to the integrals. So we were telling our friends, and we were talking about our project because we were working on this. It was just for fun. And what we found was our friends were really gravitated to this idea. We're like, that's kind of interesting. It seems curious. And so we gravitated this group of friends around this, and now we had this passionate group of people who were working on something as an idea. And we had this dream of the world's first mobile, massively multiplayer online role-playing game. Yes, big acronym. But we were like, this is our dream. But we had something that was much more important. And it was the attitude of, we're going to do this. We, by all that ideas, kind of like put it all together, and we were thinking, we're going to do this. This is a neat idea. We don't know if we can, but we're going to do it. And if we rewind the clock a little bit earlier, I had participated in a thing called Innovation Days. And Innovation Days is this really great organization that basically puts on a few contests in the engineering department, in the engineering school. And Innovation Days is about basically just creating ideas. So, for example, me and Chris Meyer, who's here today, Chris Meyer, we met in the dorms, and we were crazy, and we put a lot of things together, and we said, hey, let's go and do Innovation Days. Let's come up with an idea. It doesn't, let's just see what we come up with, and basically do Innovation Days. And so we came up with this crazy idea of a dual monitor laptop, and the fundamental theory was if one screen is good, two is better, right? Like more real estate, more fun, more games, more anything, right? And we won absolutely nothing. And more importantly, we were standing on the stage, and this man, Chad Sorensen, was asking us, what's your pricing model? How are you going to distribute that to those customers? How are you going to protect this idea from other companies like tearing it apart and stealing it? How are you going to scale this? How are you going to manufacture? What's your cost of goods? What's your price margin? Da, 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 da. And you're like, and we're thinking, that's a good question. And it wasn't that we didn't have answers. It wasn't that we didn't have answers. But the more important thing was we never asked those questions before. We didn't even know we were supposed to ask those questions. We didn't even know those were questions that were capable of being asked. And that's a really important point. And that moment where we're sitting on the stage, we're like, And that experience shaped our thinking. And the important thing I want to share with you is the experiences you pursue shape your thinking in a fundamental way. And this is why Innovation Days is so powerful and so important, is because by just doing it, by just going through the process, you get to be shaped by the questions and the learning, saying, hey, if we make it this way, we'll make it that way. This is something I'm interested in. And all of that basically shapes your thinking. And this shaping is what made it so that when we started this company with this idea to make this game, we're like, we know how this is going to work. We're going to have a pricing strategy. We're going to have a marketing distribution strategy. Here's how we're going to assemble the team, whatever it is. But if we didn't have those other experiences, it would have gone together a lot clunkier. So the experiences you pursue will shape your thinking. Another thing, don't wait to start your company. So who here, before they die, wants to start a company? Okay, come on, raise your hands here. Any participants here? Chris, you already have a company. Come on, raise your hand. Okay, anyways. So when you catch the audience red-handed, and it's never good. Anyways, so one thing here is don't wait to start a company. So starting a company has been one of the most interesting things of my life because it's just given me a whole new lens to look through the world. But the reason don't wait is that the experiences in starting a company is like the best MBA program you could ever imagine. And you didn't have to pay for the education. Well, I mean, you had to pay for it in a different way, but you didn't have to actually chunk out the change. And so if you wait, you're going to go through life and you're going to work at a great engineering job and something else, and you're going to have all that experience, but you won't have learned the critical lessons of actually how to make a successful company. And those mistakes are painful and expensive, but they take time to learn. And so if you wait, like let's say you're 40 years old before you start a company, then that was 20 years of your life that you kind of learned these other things and you didn't invest. When you start a company young, like when you're 20, or when you're 21 or 22 or 23, you get a lot more years of high experiential knowledge, right? And this is one of the reasons why, well, anyway, so from when I look at my future, I'm like, not only is it about PerBlue, it's about the next company. Company 3, Company 4, Company 5. How many companies can I start and build and grow before I die? And they're going to get better because you learn so much more. So don't wait to start a company. So I want to take another little tangent and talk about the virus of entitlement. Ooh, you're like, what is this? This is in all of the blood. It's probably in the water we drank today. And it's this one thing that kind of sneaks up on you at night, and you're like, And what is entitlement? Entitlement is this interesting thing. It's the belief you should get something regardless of what you do. If you think about that in your life, you probably go, I think a lot of things like that. You know, maybe it's the bus being on time. Maybe it's a grade. Maybe it's the fact that our revenue comes in the door tomorrow. Maybe it's the fact that I have a job, or the fact that I should be a student here, and I should be able to still be a student here. These are all of our rights, you know. And the thing this is so contaminating is that it stops us from thinking about what we do. It disconnects us from doing things. And I want to ask you another question here. Who here wants to be great at what they do at some point in time? They want to be great. Okay, now I've got a very sad fact here for you. Approximately 50% of you will be great, but 50% of you are going to be mediocre. Lukewarm. You suck. Like, you can call it what you want, but you're going to be moderate, you know. And I'm here to tell you one really important thing of the secret to becoming great. It's not about where you came from. It's not about how much money you start out with, what privilege, or how smart you are even. Becoming great is about what you do. It's what you do with your time. When you average everything out, we all are about the same. But with the choices of what we do, that's how you determine whether your trajectory is up and up through the roof and doing amazing things, or you're just kind of like, right? So it's what you do. And that's a simple choice you get to make every day. So if you wake up this morning and be like, just another day at the office, or just another day in school, stop that. There's no point. Like, you might as well change something fundamentally what you do. Like, life is too important to have it be just another day at the office. Like, it should be fun. It should be fun, it should be engaging, and you should be able to be thinking how what you're doing today is about solving some problem or making a big difference in yourself or something. So I want to take a little tangent and talk about this guy. Some of you guys may have heard of him, right? So anyway, Steve Jobs was raised by actually a Wisconsin couple who moved to California, and he was raised in a complete average household. It was a lower part of the middle class. Neither of his parents had college educations. But when you think of Steve's life, he affected and transformed 7 whole markets. And no one really questions Steve's ability to influence things. And it wasn't by where he started, right? It was by what he did, his choices each day. So to talk about his legacy, you know, Apple as a company is worth $623 billion. It is the most valuable company in the world. So, audience, what is the second most valuable company? Go ahead, shout it out. ExxonMobil. What does ExxonMobil do? They pump oil out of the ground and they distribute it to the whole world and power all the lights. That's an energy conglomerate. They are responsible for a lot of stuff, like almost everything, because it's energy, right? Yet Apple, a mobile device company, is worth more. That's a profound thing. And if you look at its growth, Apple has grown 600% in the last chunk of years. Apple we raked in $41 billion of profit so far in this fiscal year. And they did this from 5 products. And if you ask me, 3 of them, the iPhone, the iPad, and the iPad mini now, and the iPod Touch are pretty much the same thing with a bigger screen and a cellular connection, right? I mean, so you got like 3 products, really. But if you think about this, you're like, okay, Apple was lucky, right? No, it was about what Apple did. It was an extreme passion for quality product and an extreme passion for a great user experience. But then on the other side, it was an extreme passion for operational excellence and shaving every dollar out of the supply chain and decreasing their inventory. It was a lot of what they did. It was a lot of work. And so if you rewind this, the PerBlue story has been about being scrappy. When we started this, we were crazy, and we had $20,000, right? And we bootstrapped the business. Since then, we grew, and we raised a little bit of money from our family and friends. And then we raised a little bit more money from very trusting investors around town, the Golden Angels from Milwaukee. And then we raised a little bit more money from Madison and the city, plus other external investors, and kind of packaged it into growing this business. But all that has been coupled by the passion of our engineers and our employees to make the great product. We then use that to scale our business with this funnel that if you go to some of my business presentations, you hear me talk a lot about this thing, but this funnel of users coming in and being entertained and being satisfied and spending money. And by knowing how much they spend money on a deep analytical model, we can then buy more advertising from those little mobile ads you see in like the weather app. Well, some people click those and then they see our app and then they download and we eventually make some money from them. But all of this comes from what I'll call the entrepreneurial trigger. And the entrepreneurial trigger, and many of you guys have felt this emotion before. It is the, I'm done with this, and I'm going to do that. And it's, I'm going to do that. It's that we are going to do this, and that is the emotional trigger. As soon as you know with that feeling in your stomach, like we are going to do this and we will succeed, that's when you know you hit the entrepreneurial trigger. And very often people have this in response to something else, whether it's a painful moment, maybe it's an F, maybe it's getting fired, maybe it's just coming into work each day and saying, like, I'm done with this, The entrepreneurial trigger. So PerBlue has been successful. But my whole viewpoint is we have the entrepreneurial trigger today. There's so much more we can do. Our games, we've just started to touch the tip. We're going to make our games even better. Better games, more games. So I want to leave you with this phrase. There's so much more to do. But think of this in a broader context. There's so much more to do in your university. There's so much more to do in this city of what we're making and building for this city and the culture of the city. And there's so much more to do in your life. Thank you so much, and we'll now have some time for some questions. So.